Welcome to Electric Boogaloo. This is Excitable Gentlemen, a podcast where we talk about whatever things in the pop culture arena, whether they be movie, TV, music, and today, video games.
Yeah, you know what?
What?
I was thinking about off camera. Got a recommendation for you also, music. Didn't even think about it. Boom.
Just go for it. What is it? Start it off.
Anderson .Paak, Ventura, dropped today.
Did it?
The full album.
I didn't realize that. And that was
He dropped the first two tracks, King James and...
Was that expected?
No.
Okay.
At least not by me.
Because I didn't realize
I've been looking for it, and I think actually I didn't see King James until I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, because I heard... that was a week or two ago.
Yeah, because I've been listening to it today.
Okay, that's what it was, though. Yeah. No, it was that they released those two songs and mentioned that it would be dropping soon. Sorry.
Yeah.
That it would be dropping soon.
Yeah, and
I guess I just didn't.
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't realize it was today.
But
hell yeah!
Come Home and what was it? Come Home and King James were the first two tracks that got dropped on Tuesday, and then today I want to say it's a 12. Let's see, Ventura. Pull that album though.
This is his second major album
11.
release, right?
No,
his second major record release.
This is actually his third.
Is it his third? Okay.
Because Malibu was actually a full release.
Okay, I didn't realize.
But this is his. But the thing is, though, this is his second full release in 6 months, in less than 6 months actually.
Fucking hell.
Because you got to remember that he just dropped Oxnard this year also.
I didn't.
It's actually only been about I think 4 months.
I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah,
Holy
he
shit.
literally said that he was in the lab working with Dre this entire time, and he was just like, "All right, let's go." So,
well, hell yeah.
I think he said now he's going to take a break to do some touring, but he said he planned on getting right back in the lab after that. So, I'm hoping he doesn't burn out.
No shit. He doesn't strike me as that type, but that does remind me kind of how Chance the Rapper. He's back to recording, but he was everywhere. When he was full on, and now he's not a criticism, but he's gone full on religious, gotten married, and now he's working on his album. I think he said till June.
I will say that.
So I'm curious what that's gonna look like.
And this one, I haven't listened to the entire album yet. I believe I'm on track 9, so I only got like I said 2 more tracks to go.
How is it?
But it kind of reminds me a little bit of a mix of Oxnard and Malibu.
Do you hear an evolution of his sound?
Yes, you can tell. The thing is, though, you can tell he's pulling a little bit from this album, a little bit of the twang in his voice from this album, and a little bit of more of the soul from this album.
Almost like he's trying to
perfect
the recipe.
Exactly. It's but it's his sound. It's one of those things that when you hear it, it says Pack. You can't think of anybody else, but it just fits with him.
You know what kind of reminds me of? It kind of strikes me as some directors talk about the first handful of movies. It's them trying to make the film that they see in their head, and so they finally, kind of pull all their powers together, and everything comes together.
Yeah.
And then it almost makes me wonder if maybe he's just trying to get to the perfect sound translated from his head to the album.
Yeah.
Because he's to say a multi-instrumentalist is putting it lightly.
I know.
Right? I mean, primarily a drummer, but he plays everything.
Yeah, he can
which
play
is
pretty much everything.
Beck is like that, where he plays everything on his album.
Yeah, I say Beck, which surprisingly, there's a lot of artists that do that.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that there were maybe a lot.
Yeah,
Beck is what just came to mind because I'm a huge fan, and he from album to album, his albums I think are always interesting, but they can be dramatically different.
Well, it's
almost like a director directing different genres.
Well, there's a jazz artist named Boney James, and that's one of my dad's favorite artists. But a couple of his albums, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But he literally plays everything. It might be one thing on there, maybe harpsichord or something that he doesn't play. But you look at the list, and it's just baritone, Boney James.
But I like the idea that he's I really need some harpsichord, but fuck that. No, we're gonna
I need these fingertips, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna use part of the budget that I'm saving on playing everything else, including the timpani, and we're gonna just factory that one out because that's ridiculous.
But so far though, it's a really good album. It's good solid one right now.
Okay,
I want to spend some more time with it though.
Well, that's a fun little like injection of excitement for me because I didn't realize that was out now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna listen to that. Okay, well, two things about that. One, I'll do a recommendation real fast then, and then we can talk about Old Town Road since we're talking about music. And it'll be quick, but I think it's interesting. That my recommendation is, as of this last Monday, which was what date was that? The 8th. Criterion Channel debuted.
Oh yeah, saw that.
And so what I did was I joined before the launch, and they said when you join before the launch, every week they would give you a free movie you can watch on the website. But it allowed that you could extend your 30-day preview for another 30 days after it debuts, and you'll get it, which it's already passed now. But you could also sign up at a discount price if you got in early like that. So I've been going around watching movies. It's amazing. They have 1,000 or so movies now, and it gives you, you can stream the entire movie in really good quality, as you would expect. But then they also have all the extras you can then watch, like watch the movie with the commentary, and like documentary elements that they have on the discs. So you can really take full advantage digitally off all this shit. So for me, I am in this month catching up on all the French New Wave and like the hardcore shit that you would think I've seen, but I just haven't. So I'm gonna be either like in a really good mood or fucking depressed as hell this month because it's gonna be like hardcore, like 400 Blows and Fritz Lang's M, and it's gonna be intense. But I'm gonna watch them because it's free, and it's a lot better mindset to go into it instead of having to pay.
There's literally like 5 movies in the Criterion Collection that I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch those, and at least 3 of those were Japanese classics. It was Rashomon.
So Kurosawa.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna watch all those too.
Outside of that, I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that.
I know it's intense. By the way, you remember the fun trivia about Rashomon? It's the first movie to ever point the camera at the sun, because they thought the lore was that if you point the camera at the sun, it would ruin the film and break the camera. And then Kurosawa was like, fuck that. And he just did it, and it's like, okay, we're fine.
I mean,
everything works okay.
I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it. We'll try it, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, everything works fine. Let's go. Let's get this money.
But that dude has so many good movies. It's incredible. I mean, Seven Samurai is kind of the easy choice, but Akiru and Ran, and he did that movie Dreams, which cast Martin Scorsese as Vincent Van Gogh. I almost said Goff, because it's Go or Goff. That's 2 different pronunciations. But anyway, yeah, Criterion Collection kicks ass. It's the website's awesome, and it has an app as well. Highly recommend it. You get a free 30-day trial. And I watched Ace in the Hole, which I hadn't seen before, and it was actually really good. And I watched the Coen Brothers movie, Blood Simple, a couple nights ago. That movie is so goddamn good. It's their first movie, and they were like fully formed already. It's really good. I highly recommend it. Anyway, so Old Town Road.
Yeah.
The rap country song.
By Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X had the original song, which I think came out in December.
I don't know.
Well, the point is, it's not like he dropped it and immediately went viral. And he has 366,000 or so followers. Like, previous to this, he built a bunch of followers through just memes and shit on Twitter. So it gave him a bit of a kind of a launching pad for the song. Kind of helped him out. But so what happened was he dropped out of college or something. He was 19. He's 20 now. 19, living at his sister's house, and he was he was staying up all hours of the night trying to get the song to go viral. That's what he's been trying to do, which is kind of like, I mean, I respect the hustle.
Right.
It's kind of like manic in its craziness, the idea of it, but it worked. And so what happened was to diversify, he released it as a country song, an R&B song, and a rap song, which then gave it the opportunity to be on all these different charts. And on that app TikTok, it became huge on that. That was really kind of the breeding ground for the popularity. And so from there, like, everybody was reenacting it and doing all their versions of it. Like, it would be the initial, part of the song with the intro, and they'd be dressed in regular clothes, and then it would hit the chorus with a country part, and then suddenly they would hop, and magically they're wearing country outfits. Like, that's what everybody did on these compilations. And that's how it kind of got some momentum. And then when it was poised to be number one on the country chart, the country people were like, no.
Which is to be expected.
Shocking.
Yeah.
If you're not Hootie, they don't want you.
Yeah.
And they got rid of that. But it would have been the first song to ever debut number one on the rap, country, and R&B charts at the same time.
Yeah, which the thing is, though, I'll just be honest with you, I'm too old to give a fuck because it's a meme song. It's one of those things where and the thing is, he's smart. You play the algorithm.
He's savvy, and I respect it. Yeah.
You play like I said, you have to play the algorithm, so you know that you got to hit the charts. And the other thing is, you're gonna make it in the Spotify playlist. And if you're in rap, if you're in country, if you're in R&B, if you're in reggae, that means you get more money because all you got to do is get a couple of plays. That's another.
Well, I mean, Drake does that shit. That's why his albums are like 85 songs.
Exactly.
Because it all counts towards listens.
That's why y'all calls them playlists now.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's whatever I could give two fucks. But here's the thing. Country has been stealing elements of either pop and lately hip-hop the last 10 years or so.
Hip-hop has been a real big thing with them lately.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were like, oh, no, you're not a country artist doing this rap song, which we find okay because we can't ignore it, and it's popular, so they love it.
Well, that's the thing. They're already known for doing that, but it's because it's Billboard, and they get to make their own. They get to decide who's in what, because the whole part of the country aspect is they're really strict on certain country rules, or at least they were back in the day. Like, there were country artists that were getting they were selling out platinum albums, but they never got a single radio hit because Billboard just wouldn't count them as a country song because either they were too far deep into country or they weren't just popular enough to get there. So eventually they started trying to change the rules. Well, now I kind of see this whole thing where since country doesn't want to accept it, I believe that hip-hop should embrace it and make it one of its own. Where country, well, since Billboard has essentially kind of corralled country in on its own.
Well, they acquiesce to whatever country wants, obviously.
Well, they do and they don't. It's like they still control country, but they keep it all in-house. There's nobody else that gets any input into whatever it is except for them, except for the Billboard CEOs and whoever makes the charts.
I got you.
Well, essentially the same thing needs to happen for hip hop. It's like if country wants to keep them out, well, essentially it's a trap country song. So trap country can be the new hip hop. It'll be a new subgenre, just like punk was the new subgenre for rock.
That's a great comparison. Yeah.
And it's like, well, if they won't embrace us, we'll make our own rules. We're restricted, and then essentially, I hate to say it like this, but Eminem will be fine. Macklemore, his ass got to go. And it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, well, how come he doesn't count? It's like, because we said so.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I got you. Okay. That makes total sense. And, kind of, as it's been designated by the very nature of the fact that country music denied it as part of their genre, like he added Billy Ray Cyrus saying, like, hey, you want to get on the remix? Billy Ray Cyrus being a guy who's like, oh, do I want a number one hit? Yeah, please. And so they did the remix. And he said something like, I know outlaw country when I see it. I was part of that institution too. This is just outlaw country. And he related it back to reminds me of this Old Town Bridge in Kentucky when I was growing up. So it reminded me that, it's all this spinning a narrative part of it, which, I mean, he's savvy, fair enough. But then the song is now not just number one on the rap and would have been country and R&B track. It's number one on the Hot 100. And so they're playing the game, and they're playing it really smart.
I said,
and he just, by the way, signed a deal with Columbia Records.
Let's see, there you go. Like I said, just if they want to keep you out, you find your own avenue, and then you leave them behind.
100%.
Like I said, just
he doesn't need them. If anything, by the way, the press is everything he needed, and that's what propelled him.
Well, part of this, which is kind of leads into a little bit of what I was going to speak on. We talked off camera, off mic, was they did the same thing to Beyonce a few years ago, and her song was country. They even considered it country.
100%.
But because of its soulful nature, it was never going to do anything in their records whatsoever. But they had her there at the award show, and it was just like, I hate to say it, but it was like they're trying to show off, like, see, this is our black friend.
Yeah.
Well, Beyonce, and I think this is one thing that Lil Nas X can learn from this experience is I don't know if you heard recently about her deal with Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
That she initially was going to be with Reebok.
Went to the meeting.
Sat down, and there were nothing but white executives in front of her. And she asked, where are all the diverse people? Where are the ones that look like me? Who represents me? And they just kind of looked, and she got her stuff.
Walked
the fuck out.
Yeah.
And went to Adidas and essentially did the same thing. And they had a diverse staff and was like, all right, let's work. And I like the fact that now we have celebrities that actually have enough power that they can go to places and like, you don't represent me. You can't represent my product because you don't have anyone here that can voice whatever I'm thinking. So, no, I'm not going to give you any money. I'm not going to endorse you. I'm going to go someplace else where they can get my dollars. They can get the dollars that I want.
And basically, it comes down to, okay, no, I set the terms now.
Exactly. So,
and they have all the leverage in that. Yeah, they have what the companies want.
And I'll tell you this, like as a sneakerhead, now that I've found, like I said, now I know that Adidas actually has a diverse staff. Reebok doesn't. I barely fucked with Reebok now. Well, I'm like, all right, well, I fucks with Adidas, so.
By the way, my main takeaway was that I was surprised she went to Reebok before Adidas, because Adidas it's gaining more and more of a market share on Nike in a way that has them scared. That's a great point. Okay. Yeah. I like how it was one word, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes yeah. Okay.
But he can learn from this experience, and he has the power at this point. Where Billboard says no, you can't be on the country chart, so fuck it. I'll be on everything else.
And you know
I'll roll you.
And it just goes to show, it's a reminder that country music, the country music industry, they are fucking terrified of establishing the precedent where they allow that.
Yeah, because
they are terrified.
And he already announced that he's actually doing a full trap country album.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's going to happen.
And he played a little bit of a track yesterday or the day before, another track, and it sounded really good. It's really interesting. And one thing I want to say trivia-wise about this, I thought fascinating, the hook in that song, the little strings in the opening, that is a sample from a Nine Inch Nails song.
Which one?
I don't remember. I can look it up. It's a sample from a Nine Inch Nails song. So when that song hit number 1 on the Hot 100, that became the first number 1 Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have ever had on the Billboard charts, which is insane. But I thought, but as a bit of, because Nine Inch Nails is amazing. To me, they
are, but they're not going to be Billboard.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's just more of a
they're a bit too.
But knowing their body of work, what they've done, and the idea of like by happenstance, and this is what does it. It's kind of funny.
I'm just saying, like when their lead single is "I Want to Fuck You Like an Animal," like.
By the way, I'm glad you brought that up because the name of that song is "Closer," and I swear to God, for 15 years, I would say it matter of factly like, "Oh, you know that Nine Inch Nails song, Fuck You Like an Animal?" And I would mention it, and nobody corrected me, and I swear to I just thought that was the title. It's Closer. Angela corrected me on that, and she was like, "You keep saying that. That's not the song." I'm like, "What?"
But you know what the fuck we're saying.
I know, but here's the thing. If I said Closer to somebody who had heard the song but didn't know the name of it, they would be way less apt to remember it versus Fuck You Like an Animal, which is an attention getter.
Exactly. That's the reason why everybody remembers
it. So my reaction basically was, well, it should be.
Exactly. It's like, you know what the fuck the song is called. Yeah. Like, nobody's going to call it fucking Closer.
It's the most memorable part of the song.
But
one can argue very easily, I think.
But yeah.
But anyway, okay. But enough of that bullshit. On to, you got video game stuff? Anthem?
Yeah. So I actually have an Anthem review, and I sent you the Kotaku article that actually spoke about what went wrong.
You told me I didn't have to read anymore, so I stopped.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a really interesting article.
Well, it's a long,
but it's comprehensive. It's impressively comprehensive.
Like it. Actually, if you're actually reading it from beginning to end, it takes you about an hour and 15 minutes if you read, kind of slow.
It doesn't take the story to develop too much more for them to viably have a book out of that.
Yeah, but the main thing is Anthem was kind of supposed to be coming out as this whole like looter shooter, new sci-fi Destiny-esque type of game where the world is ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
NPCs are always like interacting with you and doing all these like new things and this, that, and the other. And like the E3 trailer was fucking amazing. I mean, just like HD, everything's moved so smoothly.
And that was right. They changed the name at the last second.
Well, you don't know. Well, yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah, they did, but you don't know any of this before the game comes
out.
Gotcha.
Sorry, you're setting the scene.
But like I said, it looks fucking amazing. You're just like, okay, well, they start showing, as the weeks go by, they start showing footage of the game. And you don't see much, but you see mostly like some flying, some this, that, and the other. And I was actually one of the alpha testers for the game.
Okay.
I was in the closed alpha, the open beta, and the closed beta.
So that's what they call alpha testing. What they call like early. It's pre-beta, obviously.
Yeah, that is literally like we got the game up and running. See what it does. Not the alpha test is. We hope this doesn't break.
Okay.
The beta test is you break it. You see if you can break it.
Okay.
The alpha test is please Jesus. We hope this one.
They want to make sure it's stable.
Yeah.
Versus this is more finished product in beta, and now break it because we need to get this out before we ship.
We need to make sure there's no bugs.
Gotcha.
We need to make sure there's no stuttering. So, and the alpha was really small. Like I just noticed that it was one mission, which is usually kind of the same thing, but like the area to kind of explore in was something you could kind of like fly around in like less than a minute.
And that was part of what they were touting, right? That it was like this big immersive.
Yeah.
Like world that you can traverse.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, okay, it's not that bad. It's an alpha, so I'm like, and the game really just got announced.
Okay.
So I'm like, and games like this take time. Well, eventually the game comes out, and I of course did not pre-order. I was like, fuck that. I've been burned too many times, so I got it after about a couple of weeks, and I've been playing it. Well, about 2 weeks ago, an article came out, and there have been a lot of major updates. Trying to fix bugs, they're stuttering. My game crashes. Like, as soon as I get done with a mission, you're about to get your loot, and all of a sudden, just boom, I'm right back at the home screen. I have no idea why. It's a lot of weird stuff, and it's not all the time.
This is after a amount of time, though, when they theoretically could have fixed this.
Yeah, that this should have been, kind of like, this should have been worked out already.
Yeah, it's not like launch day one.
Yeah.
Type shit.
And that's the thing, they already had a day one patch. So it was one of those things where like, well, damn, the day one patch should have fixed this basic shit, and there's still bigger bugs.
Well, and not just that, the fact that they're acknowledging it's messed up and they're still launching. And that speaks to a lot of the issues they must have had even before that.
And well, that's the thing. Now that's kind of the thing of AAA titles is we release it broken, and then 6 months down the line we fix it. We put out the final patch that actually makes it the game.
So it's like a third version of it's like a third step. It's alpha, beta, and
essentially
right.
Essentially, pre-order or the initial buyers are the beta testers at this point.
Okay.
So I was one of the initial betas, I guess you could say. And like I said, the game is fun at times, but it's one of those things where you're playing and things kind of get repetitive because you're doing the same missions over and over again.
Yeah.
But you start noticing weird things, like dialogue that shouldn't be here because you haven't met that person yet, or this person is over here and this character is looking in this direction speaking to someone that shouldn't be there. And
so it gives the vibe of, oh, they've cobbled this together.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, you don't know what happened, but it's like something must have went wrong. Well, one of the journalists at Kotaku, his name is Jason Schreier. He did a lot of digging, talked to a lot of the developers.
That article was really good.
I believe it was 19 developers that he spoke to.
Yes.
And pretty much what we saw at E3 was what the crew at Anthem and the developers actually knew what the fuck they were going to make. Apparently EA paid them this money about 7 years ago, and with this contract saying, hey, we want you guys to develop a sci-fi game for us. something kind of like Destiny, but not the same, but something that got, just something that would get everybody's attention. So BioWare sat on their asses for about 5 years until E3 of, I believe, 2017. And they cobbled together the E3 trailer. I believe they said in about 3 weeks. And that's when the crew actually figured out, well, I guess this is the game that we're making. And that kind of explains why the game is what it is. Because they cobbled it together in between 12 to 16 months of development time from zero to final product, which is still not the full product.
It's a fascinating read. Like, it's very illuminating of a broken system and a broken process.
Yeah. And the thing is, the story is terrible. I'll just give you that. Like, the basic ass generic fucking story, the opening cutscene, there was one character that was there, bald, your generic Lex Luthor looking guy. He's bad to be bad.
An easy one to make, though, because it's like, they do a lot of hair and rendering, probably.
Yeah. But there's no motivation for it. He's just bad to be bad. And the thing is, though, you just see him in that one cutscene. You never see him again, ever. And I've been wondering, like, where the fuck is he dead? Did he die in the end of the scene? Because there was a cave in, but it wasn't around him. It was somewhere else. And I'm just like,
did the developers forget about him?
The thing is, though, we don't know, because apparently there's parts of it that still haven't been finished. So because they only had so much money, they already spent up most of it trying to do certain things, because they didn't want to. Essentially, BioWare was broken up into 3 different companies. So there was Montreal, there was Edmonton, and then there was Austin. Mm-hmm. Edmonton is the primary house. They're the ones that actually do all the main development.
And they're aware of this.
Yeah. Montreal is kind of like, the next in line, and they see Austin as like the redheaded stepchild. Well, Austin is the one that developed Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the one that everyone loves, that it came out terrible as hell, eventually came out, amazing after they fixed it. They were the ones that were actually trying to fix the game and like, hey, we've worked on this before. It's an open world. You're using Frostbite, and Frostbite's made for first-person shooters, not RPGs. We know how to do this. If you do this here, you won't have to worry about this now. And essentially Edmonton was like, well, we know what the fuck we're doing. You just do whatever the fuck we tell you to do. Don't worry about it. And eventually you see what happens. And now the question is, what's going to happen to BioWare? Because this isn't EA's fault like everyone was thinking.
And by the way, like, to your point, though, something that further destabilized what was already a process that shouldn't have worked, and unfortunately for them, did work enough to make them think it was a viable process of, like, finding the game in the last handful of months at the end. So their CEO left.
Yeah.
Who was like he's not just CEO, he's like the head of storytelling, that type of thing. And then they had a writer who, in the middle of the production, was tasked with making it a sci-fi fantasy, which was similar to Dragon Age 3, right? Had a vibe to it.
Well, the thing is, most of the top people at BioWare have left. Like, it wasn't just like one writer. It was
I gotcha.
It was like essentially 7 or 8 key
There's a mass exodus.
The people that made the Mass Effects and all those great storylines were already gone. So now they're working with the people that were just like, well, we kind of know what we're doing, but not really.
I mean, that was already then a sinking ship that was officially done in by just everybody that was keeping it together then is like, fuck this, and left.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was a true ticking time bomb.
Yeah, and they just never recovered. It was one of those things where it's like, you got your assistant writers becoming head writers, and they never really got that full experience to know how this should work.
And they were emboldened by success.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, because it's a Dragon Age 3 or Dragon Age 4?
3 was the one that came out that was successful.
Yeah.
That allowed them to think that process still worked.
And the thing is, like, most games, they always tell you, they make games in crunch time. That's whereas, like, you're doing 80 hours in a week.
Well, they talked about that with Rockstar. Oh, no, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
That was a big narrative.
And
which they said is like nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like that's known for. That's been going on since Nintendo, first came out. It's just that with them, they're just like...
It's existed as long as there have been video games.
Yeah. And it's just the
fact
computer
games.
Yeah, and it's just the fact that, like, they squandered so much time thinking, well, we're BioWare. We can do this. And instead of actually putting the passion that they used to have in their games. Because you can kind of tell, like, Mass Effect Andromeda fucking sucked. Like, I got it for free, and I gave it away after, like, playing it for an hour.
Like, and I haven't played it, but in that article, it paints a very clear picture of it being a fucking disaster.
It is. It's terrible renderings. It's terrible storytellings. Like, the people look fucking frightening. It's glitchy as hell. It's a piece of shit.
And mind you, we're living in a world, too, where the biggest video game in the world is free.
Which...
I mean, and I'm not, say what you will about Fortnite, but my point being, though, that they're trying to...
for free.
There's no reason... If you're going to pay money for a game that's not a fun experience and it doesn't make any storytelling sense, and you've been kind of sort of false bill of goods, and they're still finding the game weeks after it's been released, well, yeah, by the way, cheaper games and free games look very appealing comparatively.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not going to lie. I play Paladins on Xbox. I actually play competitively on there from time to time. And the thing is, I paid for the early alpha just because I liked the game so much. I believed in it. I was like, fuck it, I'll play it. No, I'll pay for it. It actually has its own, like, Overwatch League now where they have their competitive scene. They have a competitive scene where you can win, like, $1 million for fucking, competing in a tournament. It's grown, but it was because... But the thing is, though, you can go and download and play it for free right now. And
by the way, that's very appealing. I mean, that exponentially increases the amount of people that will give you a shot.
And the thing is, it's like Apex Legends. That's the new Fortnite. That's the new Battle Royale that everybody likes, which I prefer over all the other ones.
Yeah, and by the way, in the first 30 days, there were 40 million unique users?
88.
88 million?
88.
Okay, so I read the newspaper article last week.
But the thing is, though, completely free. There's a couple of characters you can earn, points or gold or something. And we got
PUBG as well, which if you have all day to play 3 games, go for it.
But with Apex, the only thing you have to pay for, you can pay for 2 characters and everything else is cosmetic. And with a free game and it's on that level, you're more incentivized to spend 40, 50, 60 bucks throughout the game's lifetime or even more, because I do it. Where if it's a game that they give me for free just because I want to support it, they put out something that looks a skin that looks appealing. And I'll pay that $1.50.
And I think EA is also working with Tencent, who did Fortnite. They're working with them on doing a mobile version of where is it, Division, I think, or a Tom Clancy Battlefield, maybe something like that.
Yes, Battlefield.
But they're working on a mobile game as well.
Which, I'm not with it.
I just thought it was interesting. They're taking a real gamble with that.
I don't think they did not learn what happened to Blizzard and Diablo, apparently, from E3.
That's the problem with all these is the arrogance of it. I mean, to your point about BioWare, was it?
Yeah.
That it's not just that they were outwardly arrogant toward all of the companies in that field. It's that they were also arrogantly within the company towards the different, I guess, locations.
The whole house was toxic.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was
bad.
Bad.
It's just one of those things where the deeper you get into that article, and the article is 100% worth reading, it's really interesting, but the more you're just like, fucking of course it failed. I don't know how they got as far as they did with it at some points.
Which I'm surprised, because like I said, the gameplay at times is really good, but you can tell there should be more. I'm missing something. It's just, you don't know what it is, but now it's just like, okay, the game's not there.
Well, and as a point of like segue, it's a thing where the more you pay up front for a game, the more you're expecting a certain level of quality and not bugs and patches right off the bat, because you have way more autonomy with your money and how you spend it. Speaking of which, Disney Plus just announced yesterday, to give a timestamp of when we're recording this, Disney Plus announced that they will be launching November 14th.
Yeah.
And they are fucking going for Netflix.
$7.
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
$6.99 start off. And they're going to do something which is really interesting, by the way, which is packaging.
Yeah.
Which will package ESPN Plus along with Hulu.
Nat Geo.
They have Nat Geo now as part of the Fox acquisition. And Disney Plus itself. And they have it's going to be the exclusive streamer of The Simpsons.
Yeah, all 30 seasons of The Simpsons will be there from launch day. There will be 18 titles from the vault that will be there on launch day, and then they said they're going to start releasing more every cycle.
Yes. Here's the other interesting thing, by the way. Multiple things. They have unique programming specific to it, including The Mandalorian, which is a Star Wars live action show, which will be available on launch day. That show will be.
Yeah.
That's interesting. They have a really horrifically titled Avengers show coming out that is got Scarlet Witch and Vision in it. And, you know, her name is Wanda.
Yeah.
His name is Vision. And the name of the show is WandaVision.
Yeah.
Dear God. That's terrible. They have a Winter Soldier and a...
now, are these actually... Are the Marvel actors actually going to be portraying them?
Yes.
Or are they...
It's got all the original actors from portraying their characters. Loki is doing kind of like a Quantum Leap type show, kind of.
Yeah, I heard about the Loki show.
It's going to be run by a writer from Rick and Morty. You got a Hawkeye show, which is going to be about him passing the torch to a younger female Hawkeye type.
Which that one is probably like the only one I'm actually interested in.
He bores the shit out of me. And then it's got what's his name? What's the flying Anthony Mackie?
You're talking about Falcon and
Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show.
That one could be more like a buddy cop type of deal.
I could be interesting. I'm not against it.
I could see that one more like a, not Rush Hour, but more of a
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, is that
that could be fun.
Yeah, more like superhero Lethal Weapon. But thing is that I don't like Marvel TV. Like I got better hopes for this, but
the difference being, Kevin Feige is overseeing this stuff. They are, I mean, the Marvel TV versus Marvel films hate each other. Like, verifiably hate each other.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're doing a cartoon animated show about, like, What If, I think it's basically called.
That's the one I'm
And the first episode is about what if Peggy Carter's the one who drank the serum?
Yeah.
And
whereas Agent,
and what if
Captain Carter?
Yes, and then what if what's his name? What's his name? Captain America.
Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers. What if Steve Rogers was built a suit by
Howard Stark?
By Howard Stark.
Yeah. Which the thing is though, they're smart because this is exactly what I was explaining to you before. Which if DC would do, which they've been doing with their cartoons, but I said they should actually do with their movies, is they're doing their Elseworld stories, where they've been doing the what ifs for years since they've been around. It's always been they've actually been bringing it back, which I'm trying to wait on. Is what if Spider-Man became the Punisher? And the cover looks fucking amazing. But
I love the idea of stuff like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
But they always do one is like what if Deadpool killed the Marvel universe? What if Doctor Doom became Mr. Fantastic or something like that? And it's always something interesting. But the thing is though that it always gives them more to play with, and it's always a one shot. So you get one of those things where it's like you get this amazing story and usually like a 30 to 45 page comic, and then that's it, and you don't have to worry about I'm going to miss out on this next one because it's literally just for your imagination.
Factually non-canonical.
Yeah, it's not going to be and it just depends. Sometimes Elseworld stories are in a whole nother universe, so it's technically canon in that universe.
Okay.
It's just you're looking at it from another place.
It's non-canonical unless it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, fair enough. The one thing I want to add that I thought was interesting that I read was that, and this is a shot at Apple and at Amazon, is that when the movies come out for like home video release, they will immediately be available on Disney Plus.
But I mean, that makes sense.
I know it makes sense, but it's undercutting their now streaming competition. Apple's launching their shit. I mean,
the thing is, I'll be honest with you, that Apple is literally just for the fact that you like Apple products. It's like they already have the Apple TV.
That could be really, the Apple thing could be bad. Because you know what their mandate is?
It's idiotic.
You know what the internal mandate was by their CEO? His major note repeatedly of like shows when he was like screening them was like, don't be so mean. That was literally like word for word. They are trying to, it's that thing where they're trying to be for everyone so they'll be for no one.
I mean,
they're throwing money around.
I mean, that's the thing though. It's Apple. Like, that's kind of, I hate to say it, but that's why they say the sheeple. Like, when you buy like every Apple product just because it's an Apple product, but they get you in that ecosystem where you like iTunes because iTunes makes things more convenient. And then when you got it tied to your music, you got it tied to your email, you got it tied to this, it's harder to transition from because you can't switch all that shit out. Not easy.
Oh no, they
because I switched.
They get their hooks into you.
Yeah, because like I said, I had an iPhone. That was my first smartphone, and I switched to Android. And it took,
what's the phrasing? Retention.
Yeah, and I was just like, now I made it quick. I was like, fuck this shit. But I can understand how it gets you.
They become very clingy of like, you have to have this.
Exactly. It's like you got the watch, you got the speaker that only works with the Apple shit. You got the earbuds that are only really going to work well with the Apple shit. And it's like, I can't do all the stuff I really want to do with anything else, so I have to stay with you.
And they control every phase of production, development, and distribution on top of the individual products themselves, which they have a specific tool they created that will only allow them to unlock shit. They control everything.
Like I said, that's where they fucked up, because they gave you a product that you only have to buy once, and it streams shows already to you, and now they want you to pay for some shit that you're going to watch. And it's like, but I can watch this anywhere else. And your shows aren't going to be good enough for me to really pay for. Because I'll tell you the truth, there are no shows on any of these networks, for the most part, that are worth me paying for enough to like keep a monthly subscription.
Well, no, and that reminds me of the Netflix thing. And it was the realization I had the other day, which is part of what I was mentioning to you, that I realized that, I mean, I already knew this, that they're, you know, every week, basically, with all these other streaming services happening, and, you know, Disney pulling all their shit, which they're about to do once that contract runs out, that the percentages of Netflix originals goes up a lot, all the time. And they're just throwing shit at the wall, and basically what they're banking on? FOMO.
Yeah.
They're banking on fear of missing out, and that they can still incrementally, like once or twice a year, raise it $1.99 or something, which produces billions more for them, and they're just cranking out content out of the suspicion that you're fearful of missing out, not being part of the conversation, or that there's something you might like coming around. So okay, and that's a major. They don't have competition yet. Really.
Well, the thing is, they have competition. They just don't have confidence in their own shows, because you got to remember, Netflix they're infamous now for 2 seasons and you're out of there.
Mm.
Like, there's at least 6 to 8 shows within the last like year that have came out that had a season 1, season 2 got announced, and as soon as season 2 was finished, didn't matter if it was a cult classic or it was rave reviews. If it didn't do the numbers they thought, oh no, fuck that bitch.
Which is a major shift in recent history, by the way, because before that, the joke was that they don't cancel anything. And then they made a point of saying, we canceled this. Meanwhile, it's like, okay. And now they're just like, we're purging it all. Yeah. And basically with Marvel, they're like, you know what? No. You want to leave us? We cancel you. Which they've done with all of their shows now.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not just talking about Marvel shows. I'm talking about their own shows.
I got that. But that was just what came to mind.
Yeah, it's just like, essentially they're going to be on burnout because their movies aren't good enough to sustain them like that.
By the way, their movies for the most part aren't in theaters because they're not good enough to be.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why. All their movies essentially all their movies lately that are Netflix originals were just movies that got shopped to Paramount, to Universal, that they didn't want. They passed that. Like I said, prime example was Cloverfield Paradox. That was supposed to be a theatrical release. And the reason why it wasn't, because they were like, fuck, this movie is terrible. Let's shoot it to Netflix. And Netflix was like, fuck it, we'll put up a trailer, make everybody think it's amazing. Everybody's going to watch it during Super Bowl. They're going to watch right after. It's like, it's going to make money and do numbers.
They were offered Holmes and Watson. And even they were like, we're good. Like, that's how bad that movie was.
Yeah, but it's like I said, Netflix, they're stupid, but they're not stupid at the same time.
Well, oh no, they're very smart though, I think, because here's the thing. If you think about, their deal is, we're going to release a movie into a theater just long enough to get it qualified for the Oscars. And, Roma, which I would argue should have won Best Picture, at the very least, fucking Green Book shouldn't have. But the point being, they're playing the game, right?
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg's bristling at it because, oh, by the way, he's one of the faces of the Apple TV shit.
Yeah, I know.
So there's not like there's not a vested interest in that for him. But the point is, they have every.
Well, hold on. That's the hypocritical shit.
Oh no, it's 100%.
It's like motherfucker. You're against Netflix.
Oh, I wonder why you're against what is now. Oh, you're competition.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So it's like no.
It's not that Netflix is bad. It's that he's not part of Netflix, so Netflix is bad.
Yeah.
But Netflix maybe is bad, and the reason being is because I don't think the theater experience really is irreplaceable, but Netflix has every reason to want the theater experience to go away.
Well, I mean, they do, but the thing is, though, like, at the same point in time, you got to remember, it's still expensive to go to a movie theater. And there's a lot of families, like, I have friends that literally, they don't go to the theater. They watch stuff on Netflix because they can't afford to go and spend $100.
Well, and that's why, like, say what you will about the disaster that was ultimately Movie Pass, although it still technically is going now because that bitch won't die. But the thing about Movie Pass is it did cause, as kind of like an olive branch to viewers and patrons, did cause them to create their own or to make them more equitable terms, and have these kind of like their versions of it, which does help bridge that gap a little bit. But the point is that it could probably cost a nuclear family, a family of just 2 parents, 2 children, probably cost them $60 or something absurd to have a night out.
Yeah, to watch one movie.
Yes.
And it's like I said, I understand. Like, don't get me wrong, Spielberg, he can say what he wants, but it's just like, I grew up lucky that my parents, if I wanted to go to a movie, mind you, I'm an only kid anyway, that we can go to the movies. And we had dollar theaters, we had the regular theaters, so we had options. But hell, going to fucking Springfield, how many towns have we passed through where there's literally one movie theater that shows 2 movies? Those movies have been out there for like the last 9 months, and it's another 60 to 200 miles before you're going to see another theater. It's like, well, if we don't have anything, this is the best. It's like, if we got an internet, hey, at least we can watch Netflix and we can see it at home.
Yeah.
It's like, plus your stuff is going to be on there anyway. It's like, you actually have enough money and you have enough movies, you can make your own streaming platform with Warner Brothers. Like, I don't understand why you're complaining. Like, just jump on board.
I will say with all these streaming services that are in existence and that are coming, we're getting to the point where streaming is just becoming cable, and packaging is going to have to be a thing for them all to survive.
Well, I mean, they already are with Slingbox. And then actually,
Roku?
When Hulu and Spotify have been packaged together, so you can get them for $11.99.
Yeah, and that helps with now the fact that 66% of it's owned by Disney, so they have even more, money and infrastructure with which to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that helps.
Yeah, it's like
Disney's taking over. Disney has a vast majority of the intellectual property in Hollywood at this point, and the major franchises. And mind you, they haven't even fucking used Indiana Jones yet. It's just dusty IP that they're going to dust off very soon in the next couple of years, with Spielberg directing another one, because he refuses to do it without Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But you know what I will say that's interesting? And this is probably like a foreboding way to close the podcast. We're probably bumping up against 50 minutes at this point, but it's, one interesting thing is that, the backbone of Disney is all the IP that they created, and that's what they've kept pumping out, generating, profiting off of. They have the Disney brand, Mickey Mouse. But, the thing about IP is that it becomes, after a certain amount of years, public domain. Well, Disney, I've read, just makes so much sense, they threw a lot of money at people lobbying to have those intellectual property rights changed. And so they've had they're changed. So now they own them in perpetuity. It's not shocking, I get that, but it's just like,
I mean,
it's interesting.
Well, it's one of those things where I get it, and it makes me a little sad, but at the same time, like, because that's been the same thing with Superman. Superman is coming up on, actually no, he's already been out. It's already been past the 75th, but after 75 years, that's when it goes to the public domain. And that was the thing was like, the only bad thing about it is there's going to be other people profiting from the name of Superman, which I want the creators to get that kind of money. But at the same time, I would love to see another person's take. Like, essentially, Invincible is the modern take on what if Superman was in this day and age. Just so happened that his dad happened to be an alien too. But it's like, it's a modern day Superman. Now, they can just go ahead and say Clark Kent, Superman, and do it the whole thing with another person's story. I think that could be cool. It could be great, just to get it out there. But at the same time, it's like, it can go a whole... It's kind of like the reason why everybody was mad at a lot of nerds are mad in Batman versus Superman because they had literally Superman next to essentially Nazis. And it's like, he was created by 2 Jewish guys that were like, it's like,
but by the way, it's also the reason why every 3 years we get a Robin Hood movie.
Yeah,
because it's public domain, and they don't have to pay shit for the rights.
But that's what happened with Fox. That's why Fox kept releasing a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah,
because every time it was about to come out, it was like, if we didn't make one every 7 fucking years, well, Marvel's gonna get that bitch back. So,
well, that's why we got a Spider-Man movie as well. Amazing Spider-Man. I believe that's part of the reason why that they remade it so quickly. I thought it was something about retention.
No, because they already made the movies.
Fair enough.
I was like, they already released it. But they just they felt it was just better to do a reboot.
One side note on the Disney Plus thing, that in 2017, I think the end of it is when they decided to go forward with Disney Plus. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, said that basically that it was their thought process of getting Disney Plus going, which is the only reason why they bought Fox for that library. It makes sense, but I just thought it was an interesting side note.
Like I said, Fox has a great library. They just don't know what the fuck to do with any of their
They're
IPs.
really good at making shows that they canceled that are beloved, and then other people reclaim them.
Yeah, I mean they make good shows and they make initial good movies for the most part. Like they released Alien, but
fucking Prometheus.
Yeah, I mean
and
that went down the
Covenant.
road. But the original Alien is a great movie. Aliens is amazing, but it's just
they're both. I would argue Alien 3 is really underrated at this point.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but I love Fincher.
Actually, I will say this: if you really want to get for me, it was a better take on Alien 3. I want to say it is Andrew Gilliam. But it is the initial run of. Essentially, it was an initial working script for Alien 3, and they released it in the comic book.
Oh, okay.
So you actually get to see what the original script for Alien 3 was going to be like.
Cool.
Yeah, it does a weird take on some of the alien stuff, but Bishop's still there, Hicks is around. You find out a little bit more about some of these characters and some other stuff. But like, it's only like 5 issues. Real quick read. It was weird, but I would have loved to kind of see that in the movie. I understand why they couldn't do it, just because like in the comic the effects look weird, and then trying to think of doing that in like the fucking mid 90s, early 90s, hell even in the early 2000s, it wasn't gonna work. It was gonna look like that CGI effect in Blade when Damien Frost like kind of exploded. It would have looked like some shit like that. Like
the movie itself ages pretty well actually, but the special effects do not.
Yeah.
In that movie. Yeah, that's a cool recommendation. I will tell you that Killing Eve Season 2 came back. That show's really good. First episode's really good. I did actually get to see the rest of Fleabag Season 2, which is going to be the last season. And it comes out on Amazon Prime in May. And people are going to be losing their shit over it when it hits here. It is so good.
Oh, artist, I say the guys that wrote the script, I want to give him some shout out, is William Gibson.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who wrote it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Nah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
All right, folks. We'll holler at y'all later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.